Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
From her rich and fertile valleys to the shores of her icy seas, from her fields and farms and shellfish beds and her many nurseries, for the finest of her flavor, for the freshest by far, choose the things Alaskans bring to the market where you are. Products that we're proud to call our own, and it's all Alaska grown.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. We've got some wind advisories out for tonight here for the central eastern Alaska range, mainly through the passes west of the Toe Cutoff. South winds gusting to 55 miles per hour later tonight or throughout the night tonight, and then the ongoing flood advisory there in the greater Fairbanks area. On yesterday's satellite imagery, we had a batch of moisture and rain moving up to the northeast here. A lot of clouds following in behind, some more moisture here, and then the bulk of the precipitation down to the southwest, kind of wrapping back into low pressure there just west of the Pribilofs, and another band of clouds extending all the way into the Chukchi Sea. Good sunshine here up over there at Brooks Range and North Slope areas right out to the Arctic coast. Same thing up there again today. A few breaks over the central interior and some clearing over the central and southern southeast coast, and nothing but clouds out to the west. And for today, still have that low spinning a little farther to the east here, but that front moving up to the northeast brought the rain in overnight, some of that shifting off to the northeast there, and areas of rain back to the northwest into the Seward Peninsula and southward here through Chillicothe Strait and the Alaska Peninsula. Looks like it's breaking out a little bit there on the southern sides, especially there of the eastern Aleutian areas, with clouds back to the north. Gusty west-northwest winds around the Pribilofs there up to 25, maybe 30 miles an hour, wrapping around that low center just to the northeast. And other frontal system here, weak frontal system and low pressure area pushing rain and fog and low flying conditions into the central Aleutians. On the chart today, there's that system right there with the precipitation associated with it. And again, good south to north flow here, ridging over the eastern Gulf of Alaska, and the lower pressure out to the west. Seeing some pretty gusty winds kick in through Turnagain Arm and coming across West Anchorage International Airport, seeing southeast winds 25, gusts 30, 32 miles an hour at times across West Anchorage, lighter over the eastern areas. And gradient here across Copper River Basin brought southerly winds 15 to 30 miles per hour, mainly along the Copper River. And of course, those gusty winds blowing off the Alaska range help boost those temperatures up, along with the sunshine, into the 70s, maybe to the lower 80s in some areas there over the eastern interior areas, central eastern Tanana Valley, 40-mile country. Definitely a lot of 70s. Low clouds and patchy fog mainly along the northern coast of the Panhandle, but much nicer conditions, sunshine over toward the border and down over the south. Temperatures warm quite nicely today in well into the 70s down to the south, and even near 70 up around Juneau, and a lot of sunshine up over the north slope again, especially actually from the northern upper Yukon Flats right out to the Arctic coast today. Easterly winds up there in the 10 to 20 mile per hour range, but some pretty good sunshine. And then you pick up some clouds here back to the west, but all the precipitation to the south there with this frontal system. And rainfall amounts, about 0.8 of an inch fell at Cordova during the day today, with Iliamna back to the west here picking up about 0.7 of an inch. Again throughout the day today from late last night into mid-afternoon. And even farther west, Caltech had just under ½ an inch of rain, and Nome, they picked up about 1/4 of an inch. Otherwise, on to the forecast for tonight, about the same pattern here, variable clouds, maybe some coastal drizzle and fog there, mainly from north of Port Alexander, across Sitka up into Elfin Cove again. and that wave moving northward here, so some good rain going to slide back up to the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula tonight, and the winds will be on the increase here. Gales developing later tonight for the North Gulf Coast and into Prince William Sound. Southeast winds 35 knots in the forecast for tomorrow, and with rain heavy at times. Look for, again, scattered showers here at Copper River Basin, the Alaska Range. That first front here really washing out, but still a band of moisture lifting northward with some light rain from the central interior back to the northwest coast, light rain or showers. Otherwise fair on the Arctic coast there, and low pressure here, those southeast winds today of about 15 to 30 miles per hour. Those begin to diminish tonight, or this evening actually, as that low center continues to weaken and drifts to the east. But look for a lot of rain here across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, right into the Kuskokwim Valley areas, breaking out here, drying out along the Alaska Peninsula as that front pushes moisture across Kodiak Island tonight. And looks like rain and fog continuing with that pretty weak system out over the central Aleutians. Moving along to tomorrow, now that weak low right along the coast there near Tuksuk Bay, and a lot of precipitation here over the southwest interior. The main rain area along this frontal boundary up to the north, and then back down into Prince William Sound. So again, later tonight, some pretty good rain, and that'll continue into tomorrow as well. Heavy at times, gradually shifting eastward a little bit. No change for the southeast coast today, tomorrow, much like you saw today, and back into the 70s here over the eastern interior, and with that heating, that could trigger some afternoon thunderstorms here back into the central interior, maybe over toward the eastern border. And the remnants of that frontal system, the trough now, moisture associated with it, just kicking off some showers here over the Brooks Range. So look for a few more clouds up in that area, especially the north slope. Still looking partly sunny and along the Arctic coast there. But out in the Bering Sea, lots of low clouds, fog, and areas of drizzle, light rain coming around that low center, extending all the way down to the eastern Aleutians. And no change out over the Aleutians. Light winds both tomorrow, and pretty light and variable here on Monday with basically high pressure off to the southwest there. And you can see not much greening at all. Kind of a north to northwest wind flow. Then you pick up some trough action here near the eastern Aleutians for a little bit of moisture there, maybe to the Alaska Peninsula. Southwest flow, though, could be a mostly sunny day. Probably will be a mostly sunny day there for Kodiak Island. And this stuff staying off to the west. And still upper level trough aloft about in this position right through here. So that's going to keep it wet over Cook Inlet, south central Alaska. Again, rain, but not nearly as heavy on Monday as you'll see later tonight and tomorrow there for Prince William Sound. And back to the north, quite a area of numerous showers or just flat out rain here from the north-northwest down into the northern Kuskokwim Valley and back out toward the low center. But maybe a few breaks over the southern and southeastern Kuskokwim Valley areas. And this front really washing out through here. Just look for some scattered shower activity, risk of a thunderstorm. That moisture shifting up into the Brooks Range there. So look for lower flying conditions, definitely better chance of some precipitation along and south of the Brooks Range. Some of that could spill over into the North Slope area Monday afternoon, so put a few showers up there, but not too bad on the Arctic coast. Pretty light winds, and even back to the west here could see 10 to 15 miles per hour, and that's about it. And light northwest winds here over the eastern Bering Sea across Nunivak Island. And this front weakening will probably shove some light rain in along the coast, especially to the north, taking a little longer there to over the southern areas, but definitely clouds. More clouds and a better chance for rain on Monday as that weakening front drags into the area. For temperatures this afternoon, anywhere from 57 with the low stuff there at Elfin Cove, but Sitka up to 64. 76 degrees this afternoon. I believe that was at Ketchikan. Net was up to 79, 70 in Heidelberg, 82 over at Stewart, and 68 at the state capitol. Otherwise, upper 50s, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, and Seward. Hankery's a little clearing this afternoon, popped up to 70 degrees, 62 at Homer, 57 in Kenai, 60s through the Susitna and Manuska Valley areas, as well as the Copper River Basin, those gusty south winds. And then into the 70s here, north of the mountains there, Tanana Valley, Eagle up to 72, 64 at Tanana. and a 69, or 67, I'm sorry, at Bettles, with 63 at Fort Yukon, 76 this afternoon at Umiat Airfield, even New Wixit up to 73 degrees and brilliant sunshine up there. And then those breezes keeping it in the upper 40s along the Arctic coast, but the west side there, offshore flow 66 at Wainwright, 63 at Point Lay, otherwise 60s over the northwest and here in the western areas as well. Although 55 at Stony, Sparravon 55, 62 in McGrath, Bethel at 59 degrees today with Nome, 56, Shishmaref up to 63, clearing skies there, St. Lawrence Island, temperatures rising into the 50s this afternoon, mid-50s to the Pribilofs and about the same over the Aleutians as well as the Alaska Peninsula, all basically in the 50s, or some 60s showing up here, Sandpoint and Chignik this afternoon with 62 at Kodiak. Lows for tonight, 50s to the southeast coast, 50s here for the southern areas. Some locations, especially higher elevation, dropping in the upper 40s. Upper 40s, lower 50s for the Aleutians, and near 40 along the Arctic coast with mid to upper 50s there, Kotzebue Sound. And then back into the 70s here, central, especially the eastern interior, northward, another warm one there with a lot of sunshine. Again, for the North Slope area, right out to the Arctic coast. At least areas of sunshine, and down across the southeast coast, warmest in the southern areas and cooler to the north. For flying weather tomorrow morning, we've got some IFR here covering all of the Gulf of Alaska right into Prince William Sound, of course with that moisture in the front streaming northward. Marginal VFR, Copper River Basin, southern slopes of the Alaska Range or the eastern slopes of the western range there. Look for IFR conditions, more IFR back to the west, kind of extending up across the northwest coast and back down into the Aleutians. Tomorrow afternoon, that kind of breaks out up in this area with VFR developing there over Kotzebue Sound, Seward Peninsula, lingering IFR through here, and also IFR throughout the day, Yakutat right over to Portage, down along the southern coast of the Kenai Peninsula, and that south to north flow. Again, some IFR on the southern side of the Alaska Range, and lots of it out here over the Aleutians now in the southern Bering Sea. I guess it's going VFR over the northern Bering Sea. Passes, Anaktuvik, marginal, becoming VFR, and same forecast for Adigan. Again, the remnants of that front lifting north are just dissipating to the point where it'll just be VFR. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR, rainy IFR, same forecast for Windy, Isabel, marginal, Mentasta, marginal, both those passes lowest on the southern approaches, Tanita, marginal VFR becoming VFR, and for Portage, IFR. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels holding about 12,000 feet here over the southeast coast, and a little bit cooler back to the west here with that upper trough. You got about, well, I guess about 4,000 feet cooler here in the west than over the southeast, and not much different out there over the Bering Sea. And for icing threats, mostly above the 8,000 to 10,000 foot level, right here across southern Alaska, with possible moderate rime maybe along the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, scattered stuff up to the northwest there, and everywhere else clear. For the jet stream, low pressure aloft in this position, shifting inland on Monday. Anyway, for tomorrow, south to southwest, or southwest becoming southerly into the interior tomorrow, 9,000 feet. Southwest turning southerly, 25 to 35 knots are in advance of that front. The strongest winds turning southwest and diminishing back behind. 20-knot winds around that low center and pretty light winds to the southeast coast. Could see some 20-knot winds maybe there along the coastline. And for 3,000 feet, much the same pattern. Another disturbance down here near the central Aleutians. Southwest winds 10 to 20 into the interior, and then again stronger in the Gulf of Alaska, about 35 knots, but really dropping back as they push into the Copper River Basin. Light winds for the Panhandle, light winds to the north, maybe easterlies at 20 there for the Seward Peninsula. Turbulence-wise, look for occasional light to isolated moderate chop here, especially around Prince William Sound. Got those gales coming into that area, but that'll extend right up to the eastern Alaska Range, especially tonight in those areas, and then improving hopefully tomorrow afternoon. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
We have cleaned over 1,500 miles of shoreline now.
Basically, it comes down to just human muscle. I mean, we use chainsaws and knives.
You find stuff from like Russia and China and Korea, Vietnam, Malaysia. It really doesn't matter where it comes from. We all just have to clean it out.
Our goal right now in the next 10 or 11 days before the end of this year is just to see how much we can collect before we get to remove it.
What you see on the beach is a fraction of what's out there. You can pretty much break it down into 3 or 4 things. Water bottles, a lot of water bottles, styrofoam, fishing nets, fishing buoys. And that's 99% of what you find on the beach. Basically just go along with chainsaws and muscle and get the garbage, put it in sacks, and then from there we haul it up above the log jam so it's out of any heavy surf or winter storms if it's going to stay there for the year, and put it in super sacks. So yeah, we just progressively work down the coast, just day in and day out.
We have like daily goals for ourselves that, like, if we're working at a pretty good rate, we'd like to keep on pace with about, like, I don't know, about 20 to 25 super sacks a day. So this is pile 102, and in this pile right now we have 2 super sacks and 1 set of buoys. June 23rd here, this is what we've done today. We're up to 25 super sacks on the day, and I think for now we'll call it and just keep cleaning until tomorrow.
My name is Hannah, and I represent a organization in Japan called Japan Environmental Action Network. With over 20 people working together to clean up the beach, this is amazing. Like, we all need to work together to, clean up the beach as much as possible. So like every single time I go back to Japan, I talk to the fishermen, and the fishermen's like, it's a joke, but they're like, if you find any buoy with my logo, you gotta bring it back, and it's like always looking out for that stuff.
The crew's awesome. I mean, we're all skiers or snowboarders, and we're all friends. I mean, we're all good friends. My dad started it. He's the man behind the desk. He makes the ball roll for sure. He works hard. He doesn't give up easy, which is good.
This stuff is uplifted quite a ways during the earthquake. Well, I think my bag's about full already. Yep. I'm gonna take a quick look back in here. Somebody else is back here. The thing about marine debris is it's kind of a hidden problem. Unless you're out there, especially on these remote beaches that are so heavily impacted, people don't see it. I remember probably a good 20 years ago, I was out on the outside of Montague Island, flew out there, and I was just utterly astounded by all the garbage out there. You walk out there and you wade through this stuff and you go, this isn't right, this shouldn't happen.
I think a lot of it's just awareness. I mean, I've been boating out here for a long time, and I wasn't even aware of how extensive the marine debris problem is out here, but it's a consumer world out there for sure. I mean, I don't know where people's values are, I guess, but mine is you got to kind of have a little bit of respect for the environment, and considering we live in it, especially in Alaska. I mean, a lot of people like the outdoors and like to be part of the outdoors. That's why they live here, and it's they don't necessarily want to see it trashed.
Welcome back. Marine forecasts here. South coast, northwest, 20 to 25 knots, turning westerly, then southeast to 20 up to the north. Lynn Canal, south winds increasing to 25 tomorrow afternoon, lighter through the central inside waters, and back to the small craft advisories for Clarence Strait. Those winds turn southerly, drop off to about 15 on Monday, southwest 15 knots. Just a breeze now here along the coastline, south 20 for northern Lynn Canal. And later tonight, gales coming into the North Gulf Coast, and that will cover Prince William Sound. Southeast 35 tomorrow. Those seas building to 9 feet. Southeast 20 as you move westward, less gradients, and then back into small crafts for the Barren Islands. Light variable winds for Kamishak Bay. Southwest 20 here for Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait. Cook Inlet, northeast 15, becoming southerly or variable tomorrow afternoon, down to about 10 knots. And then on Monday, southerlies 10 to 15 here for the inlet. Still light and variable for Kamishak Bay. Southwest 15 to 20, Kodiak Island, the Barrens. Light southwest winds here for the North Gulf Coast, and variable to south at about 10 for Prince William Sound. Out around Bristol Bay, southwest 20 tomorrow. Southwesterlies 15 to 20 for the peninsula, and from Castle Cape to Sitkinak, west at 20 knots. For Monday, those seas stay around 7 to 8 feet here from Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev with those 15-knot winds, west-southwest here on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula on up into Bristol Bay. And for the Fox Islands tomorrow, southwest at about 15 to 20 knots. And through these zones here on the north side there, the Bering Sea side, light variable winds, but to the south, 15 to 20 knots. Northwest to northeast at about 20 out toward Chimianatu. Those turn westerly and northwest at 15 on Monday, and variable to north 15 for the central Aleutian. Still pretty light and variable, and that extends all the way across the Fox Islands with those seas running about 4 to 7 feet. And for the southwest coast tomorrow here south of Nunivak Island, southwest 20 right into Kuskokwim Bay. Northeasterlies here all the way up to St. Lawrence Island at 20 knots with north 15 turning northwest across the Pribilofs at 15. And for Monday, lighter winds now north to northwest to westerlies along the southwest coast, all at 15 knots, 3 to 4 foot seas. Same thing for the northern Bering Sea, west at 15 for the Pribilofs with 4 foot seas. And for the Arctic coast, up on the east side, it looks like the strongest winds will be over in this eastern zone at about 20 knots and dropping down to 10. And north to northeast for the central coast at about 10, picking up to 15 knots here on the west side, and then coming around to the northwest at 10 to 15 there in toward Kotzebue Sound. And then on Monday, north to northeast, 10 to 15 knots, or about 15, give or take there from Wales on up to Cape Beaufort. Northeast 15 on the west side, and north to northeast, 10 knots here, central coast, and then really getting light there off to the east, with those seas still running at about 3 feet. And for tonight again, those easterly winds up there about 10 to 20, and then this remnants of this front will spread some moisture up across the Kobuk Valley, southern slopes of the Brooks Range there, but precipitation will be quite light. The heavier rain back down here to the southwest, especially with this wave and a bulk of moisture, a good slug of moisture sliding up in advance of that front and south of this warm front, right up into Prince William Sound. Tighter gradient, winds on the increase. No change for the Panhandle, no change for the Bering Sea, even the Aleutians, no change. And for tomorrow, that front pushes eastward here. Again, in advance of that, gale force winds right up into Prince William Sound out of the southeast, 35 knots. And wind advisories tonight, again, for gusts to 55 miles per hour along the eastern Alaska Range through the passes. Clearing out there for Kodiak Island, and no change for the Panhandle tomorrow, just like today in that area. And a lot of clouds, light breezes, areas of low clouds and fog. Of course, a lot of IFR all through this area, improving back to the north, and still some showers up here over the northern interior. Sunshine back into the 70s over the eastern interior. Isolated thunderstorms, quite an area of precipitation here over the west central part of the state. That front weakens and pushes some rain into the Panhandle. That's a look at the weather for tonight.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.